The alarm bells rang through New Horizon Station like thunder. Dr. Amanda Torres dropped her coffee cup and rushed to the observation deck. Outside the thick glass windows, Jupiter's orange surface swirled in the distance. But that wasn't what caught her attention. A massive ship drifted toward them, dark and twisted like a piece of metal that had been through hell. "All hands to stations," Commander Ryan Blake's voice echoed through the halls. "This is not a drill." Amanda pressed her face against the window. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times bigger than their research station. Strange lights flickered along its hull, but they seemed weak like dying fireflies. She had studied alien technology for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Captain Jake Morrison's voice crackled over the radio from his patrol ship Defender. "New Horizon, we've got a problem. This thing just appeared out of nowhere. It's broadcasting on every frequency we know, and some we don't." Amanda ran to the communications room where Lisa Parker was working frantically at her computers. Lisa was the best engineer on the station, and if anyone could figure out what the aliens were saying, it was her. "What do you have, Lisa?" Amanda asked. Lisa looked up with wide eyes. "It's not one language, Amanda. It's dozens of them. All different, but they're all saying the same thing, which is, help us." Commander Blake entered the room, his face serious. He was a good man, Amanda knew, but he followed rules. And the rules said that first contact with aliens had to go through Earth Command. "What's the situation?" Blake asked. Lisa played the recording. Strange sounds filled the room. Clicks, whistles, deep humming noises, and something that sounded almost like singing. But underneath it all, Amanda could hear something else. Fear. "They're asking for help," Amanda said. "We have to respond." Blake shook his head. "You know the protocols. We contact Earth first, then—" "Commander?" Jake's voice cut through the radio again. "You need to see this. I'm sending you the visual feed." The main screen lit up, showing the alien ship up close. It was falling apart. Holes dotted the hull and pieces of metal drifted away like leaves in the wind. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the faces pressed against the windows. They weren't human faces, but Amanda could read the expressions anyway. Desperation, hope, fear, children's faces, old faces, faces that looked tired beyond measure. "Dear God," Blake whispered. "How many are on that ship?" Lisa checked her readings. Energy signatures suggest about 3,000 life forms. Multiple species. Amanda grabbed Blake's arm. "Commander, those are refugees. Look at them. They're not invaders. They're running from something." Blake stared at the screen for a long moment. Amanda could see him fighting with himself. "Follow the rules or save lives." "Jake," Blake said into the radio. "Bring them in." "Docking Bay 3, sir?" Jake sounded surprised. "You heard me. And Jake?" "Full medical team standing by." Amanda smiled. She knew Blake would make the right choice. 2 hours later, Amanda stood in Docking Bay 3 as the alien ship slowly moved inside. Up close, it looked even worse. Burns covered the hull, and she could see where different pieces had been welded together. This wasn't one ship. It was dozens of ships combined into one. The docking process took forever. The alien ship didn't fit properly, and Lisa had to modify the bay's systems 3 times. But finally, with a loud clang, the ship was secure. Amanda held her breath as the airlock opened. What came out was unlike anything she had ever imagined. The first being was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in slow waves. Behind it came a group of creatures that looked like giant insects, but they walked upright and wore clothing. Then came beings made of pure energy, glowing softly in the dim light. But it was their eyes that got to Amanda. Every species, every strange and wonderful creature that walked through that airlock had the same look in their eyes. The look of people who had lost everything. The crystal being approached her. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Zethkar," the universal translator said in Amanda's earpiece. We did not expect to find kindness among the stars." Amanda stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Amanda Torres. Welcome to New Horizon. You're safe here." Zethkar's crystal body flickered brighter for a moment. "Safe? We have not been safe for many years." "What happened to you?" Amanda asked gently. Zethkar touched its chest where a strange glowing scar marked the crystal. "We are the Forsaken, cast out by our peoples, marked and exiled." Amanda looked around the docking bay. Every alien she could see had a similar scar glowing with soft light. But the light seemed wrong somehow, like it was causing pain. Cast out for what? For being different, Zethkar said simply. For asking questions. For refusing to fight. For caring too much, or thinking too much, or dreaming too much. Dr. Paul Grant, the station's doctor, approached with his medical team. We need to get them to the medical bay, he said to Amanda. Some of them look very sick, Zethkar raised a crystal hand. You would heal us? Even though we are strangers? Paul smiled. That's what doctors do. As the medical team began helping the aliens, Amanda noticed something. The refugees weren't just different species. They were helping each other. The crystal beings supported the weak ones. The insect creatures shared their food. The energy beings provided light for those who needed it. These weren't dangerous criminals. These were the best parts of their civilizations, cast aside for being too good, too kind, too different. Commander Blake appeared at her side. I've sent a message to Earth Command, he said quietly. But it'll take 3 days for a response. Amanda nodded, watching as a small alien child, she couldn't tell what species, took the hand of one of her human colleagues. The human smiled and knelt down to the child's level. 3 days, Amanda repeated. Think we can keep them safe that long? Blake watched the scene in front of them. Humans and aliens working together, helping each other, sharing food and medical supplies. Yeah, he said. I think we can, but Amanda noticed he looked worried. And she wondered what he wasn't telling her about Earth's likely response. 3 weeks had passed since the refugees arrived, and New Horizon Station had become a different place. The halls that once echoed with only human voices now filled with the sounds of a dozen alien languages. Amanda Torres walked through the main corridor, dodging a group of small Crixney children, who were racing toy ships through the air while their parents watched with what she had. Learned were smiles on their insect faces. She stopped at the medical bay where Dr. Paul Grant was finishing his daily rounds. The past weeks had been the busiest of his career, but also the most rewarding. How are they doing, Paul? Amanda asked. Paul wiped his hands on a towel and sighed. Better than expected, but there are problems. These scars aren't just marks, Amanda. They're alive. He led her to a private room where Nara, a Veltar refugee, lay resting. The Veltar looked almost human except for their silver skin and large, dark eyes. The glowing scar on Nara's forehead pulsed with a slow, steady light. The scars are bioorganisms, Paul explained quietly. They cause constant pain, but that's not the worst part. They're suppressing their natural abilities. What do you mean? Paul checked his notes. Nara here is an empath. Her people can sense emotions, even read thoughts if they concentrate. But the scar blocks that ability. It's like putting a blindfold on someone and never taking it off. Amanda felt sick. They're not just marked as outcasts. They're being tortured. Every single day, Paul confirmed. And it gets worse. The lumens, those energy beings, they should be able to share their life force, heal others, power machines with their touch. The scars prevent all of that. Amanda thought about Zethkar, whose crystal body should have been able to resonate with peaceful energy, but instead flickered weakly. About Quenda, the young Crixney engineer who worked with Lisa Parker despite being in constant pain. Can we remove them? I don't know. The scars are integrated into their nervous systems. If we try to remove them wrong, we could kill them. Amanda left the medical bay with her mind racing. She found Lisa Parker in the engineering section, working alongside Quenda on a new type of power converter. The two had become close friends despite the language barrier. Lisa, Amanda called. Can I talk to you? Lisa looked up from her work, her face excited. Amanda, you have to see this. Quenda has been showing me Crixney technology. They don't build things like we do, they grow them. Quenda clicked something in her own language and the translator spoke. Your friend Lisa is very smart. In my hive, individual thinking was forbidden. But here I can create new ideas. Why was individual thinking forbidden? Amanda asked. Quenda's antenna drooped. Crixney live as one mind, one thought, but I began to think my own thoughts, dream my own dreams. The Hive Queen said I was broken. She marked me and sent me away. Lisa put a gentle hand on Quenda's shoulder. You're not broken. You're brilliant. As Amanda watched their friendship, she realized something important. These refugees weren't the worst of their species. They were the best. They were the ones who dared to be different, to think new thoughts, to care about others. She found Commander Blake in his office, staring at a message on his screen. His face was grim. Earth's response? Amanda asked. Blake nodded. Admiral Patricia Stone is coming with a science team. She'll be here in 2 weeks. That's good news. There's more. General Robert Hayes is also coming with a full military fleet. Blake turned to face her. Earth Command is split. Half want to study the aliens, learn from them. The other half think they're dangerous criminals who should be sent back where they came from. Amanda felt cold. Sent back to what? To exile and torture? To their home governments. Earth Command doesn't want to start an interstellar war over a bunch of alien refugees. That night, Amanda couldn't sleep. She walked to the observation deck where many of the refugees liked to gather. They would sit together, sharing stories in their own languages, finding comfort in each other's company. Zethkar was there, his crystal body dim in the starlight. Next to him sat an old lumen named Brightstar Dancing, whose energy form flickered like a dying candle. You are troubled, Dr. Torres, Zethkar said without looking at her. Amanda sat down next to them. How did you know? Even with the scar blocking my abilities, I can sense strong emotions. You radiate worry. I'm afraid for all of you, Brightstar Dancing pulsed softly. Through the translator, her voice sounded tired but kind. Fear is not new to us, friend Amanda. We have lived with fear for many years. Tell me about your homes, Amanda said. What were they really like? Zethkar's light grew dimmer. My people, the Gelti, are warriors. We fight constantly. For territory, for resources, for honor. When I spoke of peace, they called me weak. When I refused to kill prisoners, they called me traitor. Brightstar Dancing flickered. My people feed on life energy from other worlds. We drain planets until they die, then move on. I refused to participate. I said we should find another way to survive. They said I was choosing death over life, and now we live in ships, Zethkar said. We drift from system to system, never welcome anywhere. The coalition of worlds that exiled us makes sure of that. They spread word that we are dangerous, that any who help us will face consequences. Amanda thought about Earth Command's message. This coalition, do they have ships? Weapons? Oh, yes, Brightstar Dancing said, her light growing brighter with fear. They have fleets that could destroy worlds. They will not let us stay here, Amanda. They will come for us. How long do we have? Zethkar considered. The bioscars transmit our location. They know where we are. I would guess days, not weeks. Amanda stood up quickly. Then we need to work fast. She found Paul Grant still in the medical bay, running tests on tissue samples from the scars. Paul, how fast can you figure out how to remove these things? I don't know, Amanda. Maybe months of research. We don't have months. Try days. Paul looked at her with surprise. What's going on? The people who exiled them are coming. And if we can't remove those scars, our new friends are going to be dragged back to a life of torture. Paul was quiet for a moment. Then he rolled up his sleeves. Then I guess I'm not sleeping tonight. Amanda smiled grimly. None of us are. As she left the medical bay, Amanda made a decision. Earth Command might be divided about the refugees, but she wasn't. These beings had suffered enough. They deserved a chance at real freedom, at real life. And if that meant standing against their own governments and an alien coalition, then so be it. After all, the best part of being human was knowing when to break the rules for the right reasons. The massive alien fleet appeared without warning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel like dark clouds gathering for a storm. Amanda Torres watched from the observation deck as dozens of warships took positions around Jupiter, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could crack planets in half. How many? Commander Blake asked Captain Morrison over the radio. 57 ships, sir, all heavily armed. Our 3 patrol boats look like toys next to them. Amanda felt sick. In the past month, she had grown to love the refugees like family. Now their worst nightmare had come true. The communication came 30 minutes later. The main screen in the command center flickered to life, showing a tall, elegant being with blue skin and 6 arms. Its voice was cold and precise. I am High Arbiter Velox of the Centaurian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Harmony Coalition. You are harboring criminals and outcasts that belong to us. Return them immediately. Commander Blake stepped forward. This is Commander Ryan Blake of the Earth Federation Research Station New Horizon. These beings requested sanctuary. We've provided humanitarian aid to refugees. Velox's 4 eyes narrowed. Refugees? These creatures are marked criminals, exiled for crimes against their societies. Your primitive species has no authority to grant them sanctuary. What crimes? Blake demanded. Sedition, refusal to conform, spreading dangerous ideas, weakening the genetic pool through defective thinking. Velox said the words like they explained everything. They wear the marks of their shame. Surely even your species can see this. Amanda stepped into view of the camera. Those marks cause them constant pain. You're torturing them. We are maintaining order, Velox replied. These defectives would spread their poison to others if allowed to remain unmarked. The pain reminds them of their failures. Their failures? Amanda's voice rose. Their failure to be cruel? Their failure to stop thinking? Their failure to stop caring? Velox looked genuinely confused. Yes, these traits weaken civilization. Strong societies remove such elements. Blake held up a hand to calm Amanda. What exactly are you demanding? Return all marked criminals to our custody within 48 hours. In exchange, we will consider not destroying your primitive outpost for harboring fugitives. The screen went dark. Blake turned to his staff. Options? Captain Morrison's voice came through the radio. Sir, we're outgunned about 20 to 1. Even if Admiral Stone's fleet arrives on schedule, we'd still be outnumbered. Lisa Parker looked up from her computer. Commander, I've been analyzing their ships. The technology is incredible, but it's all the same. Every ship uses identical designs, identical weapons, identical everything. What does that mean? It means they haven't innovated in decades, maybe centuries. They build the same things over and over. Amanda suddenly understood, because they keep exiling their creative thinkers. In the refugee quarters, panic was spreading. Amanda found Zethkar trying to calm a group of terrified aliens. The crystal being's body was flickering rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. They found us, Zethkar said when he saw Amanda. They always find us. We're not giving you back to them, you must. If you don't, they will destroy this place and everyone in it. We cannot allow innocents to die for us. Amanda grabbed Zethkar's crystalline hand. You listen to me. You are not going back to that life. We won't let it happen. How can you stop them? Look at their fleet. Amanda didn't have an answer for that. But she knew one thing. She would rather die fighting than hand these good people back to their torturers. Dr. Paul Grant burst into the refugee area, his face excited. Amanda, I figured it out. He led her to the medical bay where Quenda lay on an examination table. The young Crixney had volunteered to be the first test subject for scar removal. The scars aren't just suppressing their abilities, Paul explained. They're also broadcasting constant location data to the Coalition. But I think I can remove them safely. How? The scars are alive, but they're not intelligent. They follow simple programming. If I can convince the scar that its host is dead, it will detach itself. That sounds dangerous. It is, but Quenda is willing to try. Amanda looked at the brave young alien. Are you sure about this? Quenda clicked her mandibles. For freedom? For the chance to think my own thoughts without pain? Yes. The procedure took 3 hours. Paul used a combination of drugs to slow Quenda's life signs until they were barely detectable. The bioscar, sensing its host was dying, began to detach itself. Amanda watched in fascination as the glowing parasite loosened its grip on Quenda's nervous system. Paul carefully removed it with surgical tools, placing it in a containment field where it writhed like an angry snake. Quenda? Paul called softly. Can you hear me? The young Crixney's eyes opened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her whole body began to glow with soft, natural light. She sat up quickly, her movements fluid and graceful in a way they had never been before. I can think, she whispered in amazement. I can think clearly for the first time in years. The pain is gone. She looked at her hands and Amanda gasped. Quenda's fingers began to change, extending into delicate tools. Within seconds, she had grown a perfect screwdriver, then a welding torch, then a computer interface. My people are natural engineers, Quenda explained. We can adapt our bodies to use any tool. But the scar prevented this. Lisa Parker, who had been watching the procedure, stepped forward with excitement. Quenda, I have an idea. Can you interface directly with our computer systems? I think so. Quenda extended a finger that reshaped itself into a computer plug. She connected to Lisa's workstation, and immediately the screens filled with data. Amazing, Lisa breathed. You're processing information faster than our best computers. Amanda felt a spark of hope. How long would it take to remove everyone's scars? Paul checked his notes. If we work nonstop? 36 hours. But that's cutting it close to the Coalition's deadline. Then we better get started. Word spread quickly through the refugee quarters. Despite the risks, every single alien volunteered for the procedure. They would rather die free than live as slaves. As Paul began the second surgery, Amanda returned to the command center. Commander Blake was staring at the tactical display, watching the coalition ships patrol the outer system. "Any word from Earth?" Amanda asked. "Admiral Stone's fleet will arrive in 18 hours. General Hayes is 6 hours behind her. Will it be enough?" Blake shook his head. "Not even close. But maybe we won't have to fight." "What do you mean?" Blake turned to her with a grim smile. "I'm going to do something that will probably end my career. I'm going to declare New Horizon an independent sanctuary world, outside the authority of any government." Amanda stared at him. "Ryan, that's treason." "Maybe. But it's also the right thing to do." He looked at the refugee quarters where humans and aliens worked side by side. "Besides, I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way." As if to prove his point, Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio. "Commander, my crew and I have discussed it. Whatever you decide, the Defender stands with you." Amanda smiled. Maybe they were outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't alone, and sometimes that made all the difference. Admiral Patricia Stone's fleet arrived like cavalry in an old Earth movie, their ships gleaming white against the dark of space. But even her 12 vessels looked small compared to the coalition armada waiting for them. Amanda Torres stood in the docking bay as Admiral Stone came aboard New Horizon. The Admiral was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Behind her walked Dr. Helen Murphy, Earth's top diplomat, and Colonel Danny Foster, whose reputation for impossible missions was legendary. "Commander Blake," Admiral Stone said as she stepped off her shuttle, "I understand you've declared this station independent from Earth authority." Blake straightened his shoulders. "Yes, ma'am. As of yesterday, New Horizon is a sanctuary world for any being seeking refuge from persecution. That's not your decision to make, Commander." "With respect, Admiral, it is now." Amanda watched the two officers stare at each other. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Dr. Murphy stepped between them. "Perhaps we could discuss this situation calmly. I'd like to meet these refugees and understand what we're dealing with." Amanda led the Earth delegation through the station. In the past 36 hours, Dr. Grant had successfully removed bioscars from over 2,000 refugees. The change was remarkable. They passed Bright Star dancing in the main corridor. The old lumen was no longer a flickering shadow but blazed with warm golden light. She was teaching a group of human children how to make light patterns with their hands, her energy field making their skin glow softly. "Incredible," Dr. Murphy whispered. "She's sharing her life force with them." In the engineering section, they found Quenda and Lisa Parker working together on something that looked impossible. The young Crixney had connected directly to the station's main computer, her body glowing as she processed millions of calculations per second. Around them, other freed refugees were helping. A crystal being that could see energy patterns, an insect creature that could regrow lost components with its own body, energy beings that powered equipment with their touch. "What are they building?" Colonel Foster asked. Lisa looked up with excitement. "A new type of shield generator. By combining human engineering with alien abilities, we can create defenses that are stronger than anything either of our species could build alone." Admiral Stone examined the device. "How much stronger?" "About 300% more effective than our best military shields," Lisa replied. They continued to the medical bay where Dr. Grant was performing another scar removal. This time the patient was Zethkar. The crystal being lay still as Paul carefully extracted the bioparasite that had tormented him for so long. As the scar came free, Zethkar's entire body erupted in brilliant light. The crystal resonated with a deep musical tone that made everyone in the room feel suddenly peaceful and hopeful. "What is that?" Dr. Murphy asked. "His natural ability," Amanda explained. "Zethkar can project emotional harmony. Before the scar, he was probably a natural peacemaker among his people. And they exiled him for that? They said peacemaking was weakness." Dr. Murphy was quiet for a long moment. What fools they were. The delegation's final stop was the observation deck where many refugees gathered to watch the stars. But today they were watching the Coalition fleet. High Arbiter Velox had sent another message that morning, extending the deadline by 12 hours as a courtesy to the primitives. His tone suggested he was enjoying the humans' dilemma. 6 hours left, Admiral Stone said, checking her watch. "And General Hayes won't arrive until 3 hours after the deadline. Will you help us?" Amanda asked. Admiral Stone was quiet for a long time, watching the refugees. A group of young aliens, multiple species, were playing together while their parents talked nearby. The children seemed unaware that their lives hung in the balance. "Commander Blake," Admiral Stone said finally, "as of this moment I'm placing New Horizon under the protection of the Earth Fleet." Blake looked surprised. "Admiral? Earth Command gave me authority to make field decisions. This is mine." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to the Coalition Fleet. Tell them Earth stands with the refugees." High Arbiter Velox's response came within an hour. This time he appeared on screen flanked by other Coalition leaders, beings from a dozen different species, all wearing expressions of cold authority. "Admiral Stone," Velox said, "we are disappointed that your species chooses to harbor criminals. But we are prepared to be merciful. Return the marked ones and we will allow your fleet to depart unharmed." Dr. Murphy stepped forward. "High Arbiter, these beings are not criminals. They are individuals who dared to think differently from their societies. That's not a crime, it's evolution." "Evolution?" One of the other Coalition leaders, a being that looked like a living tree, rustled its leaves angrily. "These defectives spread chaos and disorder wherever they go." "They spread new ideas," Dr. Murphy countered. "Innovation, progress, the very things that make civilizations grow and thrive." Velox's four eyes narrowed. "Your species is young, Dr. Murphy. You do not understand the dangers of unchecked individualism. Order must be maintained, at what cost? You exile your best minds, your most creative thinkers, your most compassionate souls. What's left? Stability, uniformity, strength." Dr. Murphy gestured toward the screen showing the refugees working alongside humans. "Look at what we've accomplished in just 1 month. New technologies, new medicines, new ways of thinking about old problems. That's what you threw away." "Enough," Velox said coldly. "You have 4 hours to comply. After that, we will take the criminals by force." The screen went dark. Colonel Foster had been studying tactical displays during the conversation. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their fleet. Dr. Parker was right, they haven't innovated in decades. Every ship is identical, every weapon system is the same. Can we use that against them? Maybe. Quenda and the other freed refugees have been working on something. They know Coalition technology better than anyone." They found Quenda in the main engineering bay, surrounded by equipment that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Her body was connected to multiple computer systems at once, processing data faster than any human could follow. "What have you found?" Amanda asked. Quenda looked up, her insect eyes bright with excitement. "The Coalition builds everything the same way because they fear change. But that means they all have the same weaknesses." She gestured to a holographic display showing Coalition ship designs. "Every vessel shares the same core systems. If we can create a resonance cascade in their main computer networks, we can disable their entire fleet at once." "How?" Colonel Foster asked. "Zethkar's harmonic abilities combined with lumen energy projection, channeled through a device built with Crixney biotechnology." Quenda's excitement was contagious. "We can turn their strength, their uniformity, into weakness." Admiral Stone studied the plan. "How long do you need to build this device?" 2 hours if everyone helps." "Do it." The next 2 hours were the most intense of Amanda's life. Humans and aliens worked together like they had been partners for years. Crystal beings provided structural frameworks. Energy beings powered the systems. Insect creatures grew the organic components, and humans tied it all together with their technology. With 30 minutes left before the deadline, they were ready. Admiral Stone opened a channel to the Coalition fleet. "High Arbiter Velox, this is Admiral Stone. I have a counter-proposal." Velox appeared on screen looking annoyed. "You are in no position to make proposals, Primitive. Leave peacefully, and we'll consider not demonstrating why humanity has survived this long despite being primitive." Velox laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You threaten us? Your tiny fleet against our armada? Not threat, promise." The Coalition fleet began moving toward New Horizon, weapons charging. Admiral Stone looked at Amanda. "Let's show them what happens when you underestimate refugees and the humans who believe in them." Amanda smiled grimly and activated the device. The universe filled with light. The harmonic cascade spread through space like ripples on a pond, but instead of water it carried pure resonant energy. Amanda Torres watched from the command center as the wave reached the Coalition fleet, and then something wonderful happened. One by one, The massive warships simply stopped, their weapons powered down. Their engines went quiet. Their communication arrays fell silent. 57 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy drifted helplessly as their identical computer systems crashed all at once. It worked, Amanda whispered in amazement. High Arbiter Velox's face appeared on screen, but the transmission was fuzzy and broken. "What have you done?" he demanded. Quenda, still connected to the resonance device, looked up with satisfaction. "We turned your greatest strength into your greatest weakness. Every ship in your fleet uses the exact same computer core, the exact same programming. When one fails, they all fail. This is impossible. Our technology is perfect." Sethkar stepped into view of the camera, his crystal body blazing with harmonious light. "Perfect for conformity, High Arbiter, but evolution requires change, and change requires different voices, different ideas. You cannot hold us forever," Velox snarled. "When our systems reset, we will destroy you all." Admiral Stone smiled coldly. "Actually, you won't." She nodded to her communications officer, who opened channels to all frequencies. Suddenly, the screen split into dozens of smaller views, showing the bridges of Coalition ships. But these weren't Coalition officers. They were aliens Amanda had never seen before, all wearing the glowing scars of exile. "Meet the crew members your own ships forgot about," Admiral Stone said. "Turns out every Coalition vessel carries a few marked ones. Engineers, technicians, janitors. The ones you needed but pretended didn't exist." A scarred alien that looked like a walking tree spoke from one of the ship bridges. "We have taken control of the Coalition vessel Green Branch. We request sanctuary." Another voice, this one from a bird-like creature. "Coalition ship Wind's Edge requesting permission to defect. We are tired of serving those who cast us out." The requests came faster now, ship after ship. Amanda realized what was happening. The rebellion wasn't just on New Horizon. It was spreading through the entire Coalition fleet. Velox's face had gone pale blue. "This is mutiny. This is chaos. This is freedom," Amanda said simply. General Hayes arrived in the middle of the chaos, his military fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel to find the situation completely transformed. Amanda watched him take in the scene, Coalition ships surrendering, refugees celebrating, humans and aliens working side by side. Dr. Helen Murphy was in her element, coordinating with the defecting ships and establishing communication protocols. Within hours, over half the Coalition fleet had requested sanctuary, but the real surprise came from High Arbiter Velox himself. 3 days later, Amanda found him in the station's guest quarters. The proud Coalition leader sat alone, his 6 arms folded, staring out at the stars. Without his flagship's impressive bridge, he looked smaller somehow. "Arbiter?" Amanda said gently. He looked up at her with all 4 eyes. "I do not understand your species, Dr. Torres. What do you mean?" "You welcomed beings that their own people had rejected. You fought an entire fleet to protect strangers. You risked everything for those who had nothing to offer you." He paused. "Why?" Amanda sat down across from him. "Because it was the right thing to do." "The right thing?" Velox seemed genuinely confused. "By all logical analysis, you should have surrendered the criminals to prevent greater conflict. That would have been the practical choice." "Maybe. But we're not always practical." Velox was quiet for a long moment. "In my empire, I have a daughter. She asks too many questions, thinks too many new thoughts. My advisors say she should be marked and exiled." Amanda felt her heart tighten. "What will you do?" "I do not know. For centuries, I believed order was everything. But I have watched your refugees these past days. I have seen what they can create when their abilities are not suppressed." He looked at Amanda with something that might have been hope. Perhaps some questions deserved to be asked. 6 months later, Amanda stood in the same observation deck where she had first met the refugees. But New Horizon Station was barely recognizable. The human research facility had grown into a massive space city, with docking ports for hundreds of ships and habitats for dozens of different species. The Sanctuary Alliance, as they had come to call it, was thriving. Quenda and Lisa Parker had established the Combined Technologies Institute, where beings from across the galaxy worked together to solve problems that had puzzled civilizations for centuries. The energy crisis that plagued most worlds was being solved by Lumen power-sharing techniques. Diseases that had killed millions were being cured by Veltar empathic healing, combined with human medicine. Zethkar had become the Alliance's first peace ambassador, using his harmonic abilities to resolve conflicts before they could escalate into wars. His gentle wisdom had already prevented 3 separate wars. Dr. Paul Grant now ran the largest medical facility in this part of the galaxy, where the bioscars that had once been marks of shame were studied and removed from refugees, who arrived daily from across the known systems. Commander Blake, now Governor Blake of New Horizon, coordinated the constant flow of new arrivals. The station had become a beacon of hope for outcasts, rebels, freethinkers, and anyone who dared to be different. But the most remarkable change was in the former coalition members themselves. High Arbiter Velox had returned to his empire and established the first rehabilitation centers for marked individuals. Instead of exile, those who thought differently were given opportunities to contribute their unique perspectives. The ripple effects spread throughout the galaxy. Other coalition members began questioning their policies. Some established their own sanctuary worlds. Others reformed their exile systems entirely. Amanda found Bright Star dancing in the memorial garden they had built to honor those refugees who had died before finding freedom. The old Lumen was tending to plants from a dozen different worlds, her energy helping them grow in alien soil. "Do you ever regret leaving your home?" Amanda asked. Bright Star dancing pulsed with warm, golden light. "This is my home now, dear Amanda." Here, among beings who understand that difference is not disease, that questions are not crimes, that dreams are not dangerous. Amanda nodded, looking out at the bustling station. In the distance, she could see new ships arriving, more refugees, more outcasts, more beings who had been told they didn't belong anywhere. "They'll always be welcome here," Amanda said. "Yes," Bright Star dancing agreed, "and they will welcome others in turn. That is the way of growth, of evolution, of hope." In the engineering section, alarms began to sound. But these weren't warning alarms, they were celebration signals. Another breakthrough had been achieved, another impossible problem solved by the combination of different minds working together. Amanda smiled. The galaxy was changing. One refugee at a time, one new idea at a time, one act of acceptance at a time. And at the center of it all was a simple truth that humanity had always known, but had finally been brave enough to act on. Everyone deserves a chance to belong somewhere. The bioscars that had once caused so much pain now glowed softly on the arms and faces of former refugees. Transformed from marks of shame into badges of honor, they had become symbols of courage, the courage to be different, to think freely, to dream of something better. And across the galaxy, in small workshops and hidden laboratories, in quiet homes and secret gatherings, beings who had never thought they had a place in the universe began to plan their own journeys to New Horizon. The sanctuary world waited for them all with open arms and an endless capacity for welcome, because that's what humans did best. They made room for everyone at the table, no matter how crowded it got.